if you can work just by yourself. The work by yourself is very important. Don't look to always looking for a partner. Work by yourself.
Today is Saturday, November 21st,
Yes,
2020. It's 12 p.m. California time. And who are we speaking with?
you're speaking with Little Ray, all the way from Brooklyn, New York, and it's a what's this? A overcast 50 plus day, 50 plus degree day in Brooklyn.
Wow, very nice, very nice. Who is Little Ray for those that don't know?
Ah, well, I've been around the house music world. I'm a house music promoter, organizer, DJ, and just love a good house music party. And I've been around this scene in New York City since about 1982, 83, thereabout. And I'm also the organizer of the Clubhouse Jamboree, which is would have celebrated 27 years this year. But of course, because of the pandemic, we have to put that off until it'll next year. We'll have our 27th year anniversary, or 27 minus 1 year.
I love it.
I'm also uh, starting a new venture, which is called Jamaica Frenzy, which is a house music, all inclusive house music vacation experience in Negril, Jamaica. And that is happening in April of 2021. We did it in March of 2019, and it was rather successful, and we're going to continue growing on
Perfect. Let's dig into Jamaica Frenzy. I love the name. How'd you come up with it?
that. That's the name came about. It's it's a combination of myself and my wife. We normally we like going to Jamaica for vacation. We also like going just the Caribbean overall for vacation. And while we're down there, we're laying on the beach and like two old birds, just doing nothing. Of course, you have all this beauty around you with top-notch service. And we said, well, why can't we have our music here with some of our friends? And then the name came about because I was doing this event called Brooklyn Frenzy here in Brooklyn. And we said, well, frenzy, obviously, we all know what a frenzy is. But when you have a frenzy in a house music party, it's everything. That's when the party goes full tilt. So it started from Brooklyn Frenzy. And when we were going to Jamaica, we had many different choices of names, obviously. But my wife is the one who said, why don't you just settle on Jamaica Frenzy? We're going down to Jamaica to create a frenzy. And that's how the name came about.
Love it. And let people know your lineup. I remember 2019, you had a top shelf lineup of artists. Let people know.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, right now we haven't released a lineup yet for 2021.
Uh-huh.
It will be April 5th to April 10th. Uh,
Gotcha.
we have, or I should say, I have confirmation from a few of the DJs who was on that 2019 lineup. However, due to COVID, obviously everyone is taking a wait and see attitude,
Yes.
as well as travels and stuff like that. I mean, I even had one DJ just when was it 2 days ago said, Ray, I'm definitely down, but let's see what COVID does. Let's see how we can travel and so on.
No, no,
Traveling
but
right now.
yeah,
Huh?
traveling right now is tough. But no, let people know who showed up, who played at the 2019 version.
Oh, in 2019,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you had Timmy Regisford was there. You had
Yes.
David Morales, Spinner. You have Kai, all the great DJs from Atlanta. Actually, it was Salah came down. Kemet was there. Kai was there. These are all the guys from the House in the Park brand that's in Atlanta. You also have Ultra Nate. She played. You had DJ Spen. Um, uh, Francois K. I can't leave my guy Francois out. But not just Francois K. You had the Body and Soul team there. You had Francois, you had Joe Clausel, you have Danny Krevit. He was also there. And of course, how can I forget my man, Dell, DJ Dell from Philadelphia. Dell is, I mean, such a fun guy. But we had fun. That was the main thing. I wanted to go down there to not just bring these quality DJs there, but also to start opening up the the Jamaican market to some of our music and what our music was. And that was great to just stand back and see that happen. Just so real quick, I know you didn't ask me that question yet, but we did some of the events off the hotel property in 2019, and we set up this magnificent stage. I mean, the music and the sound system was second to none. When you're dealing with the caliber of these DJs, you have to make sure the sound is they like it a particular way. There was not one complaint about sound, and of course, it is Jamaica. Jamaica is a land of sound, and as we were setting up, we had the skeptical look of the various Jamaicans who were walking by and what's going on over here? What kind of music is this? But dance music is good music. Good music is good music, and it transcends. And once people hear it, they gravitate to it. And set up there. We went down on a Tuesday. Our first event was on a Wednesday, and Mumia, I could tell you by Friday, everyone was like, "Oh my God, this is so good." We had like a staff there of Jamaicans who was working, and I couldn't believe it. It was all these younger people who was mainly into reggae and hip hop and so on. By Friday, they were on top of the bar dancing and having a great time to this music. So, and even the hardest of the hard, Rasta man was on the beach because it was on the beach. And I just remember like a couple of them, they gave me a look and they were like, "This is cool, man. This is cool." And we even have a video where, and I'll send that to you. I have a video where you had two police officers in the party. They would just start dancing and having a good time. They were there for security, but they broke out into a party. So it was really great to see. We hope to grow on that, continue growing on that. You know me by now. I start one thing and I'm like a dog with a bone. I don't let go of it. So, this is a long-term project.
Let's go back to the beginning. How'd you get the nickname Little Ray?
Little Ray, that nickname came about from, I would say, from in college. I went to college in Springfield, Massachusetts, American International College, from 1981 to 85. And the name Little Ray, I mean, my stature, I am a little person. Maybe let's put it this way: I am a short person. I'm not little anymore. In stature. But it came about in college when I was, I was always part of the fabric of college life, and especially various different social clubs and fraternities. I'm a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. I was their step master and stuff like that. And the name Little Ray just stuck. I mean, you know what? I may even say went back even as far back as high school. I went to high school at Canarsie High School here in Brooklyn, and the name Little Ray, I got it. It's just a natural thing.
And then talk to us. How did you meet your wife? Your wife is not only your wife, but she's also your business partner and your idea generator. Talk to us about how you met Ilsa.
Oh wow, she is my rock. She definitely is my rock. There are certain things that before I met her, there was a certain path I was going down that was just it's like a ship with no rudder. And we met. We're now when what is it? This year we celebrated 19 years of marriage. We met actually. This It's ironic because it was the same people kind of, she came out of she was in Staten Island. She's a Staten Island girl. And we used to always go to a shelter at Hubert Street. And she started coming out. I didn't see her for a while. Turned out, it turned out her mom had passed, and then she took some time off and left the scene for a little while, and then re-entered the scene. One of her best friends is the sister of the young lady who first took me to the Paradise Garage. That was back in 1982. Okay, and so they always came out party, and she was at shelter, and the way she told the story, I would dance with her, and I'm finished dancing, I just walk away, I'm gone. Okay, but I always was like, this girl is out of my league. I'm not even gonna do it. She's way out of my league. But she tells her friend that if he walks by me again, because when shelter is finished, you just everybody walk straight out the long hallway of Hubert Street. If you remember Hubert Street, you walk down the hallway out onto what's that, Hudson, right? So as we're walking out, she's standing in the hallway. She saw me coming, and her version is, if he walks by me again, I am tripping him. Um, if he walks by and not say anything, I'm tripping him. Um, Call it intuition, but I felt that, and I'm walking by, and I just stopped, and I said, "Hey, how you doing? What's your name? What's going on?" And we just started talking. Our first date, we went out rowing. She set up the whole thing. We went rowing in Central Park. I can't row for. I didn't know I couldn't row or could row. I found out that day real quick. I could not row at all. And there's nothing more embarrassing, as well as make you know like you're not the man, than getting into a rowboat on a date with supposedly now your future wife, and you're going in a circle right in front in Central Park, in front of and for those who have been rowing in Central Park, I'm in front of that restaurant going around and around and around, and everybody now is looking at me like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? And she just took the oars, and I guess it was all metaphorically. She took the oars, and row us out of there, and steer the rudder, and she has steered my rudder since. And
Wow.
that was our first date. We brought lunch, sandwiches, and it was, I have to do that date again. Actually, that was a really really good date. So that was how I met her, and we dated for a little under 2 years. And I remember I had won a trip with my company at the time to Atlantis in Bahamas, in Paradise Island, and I took her there, and that was where I proposed to her in the Fathom Room, I think it was. You know, yeah. So, wow, Mumia, you took me back to some times there.
Um, let's go back to some of the early clubs. I forgot that you also went to the garage. What is the Paradise Garage for those that don't know, and what makes it so special?
It is. Let's just say it was a club that I went to probably from 1982 to 87. It closed almost every week. Um, and I could tell you every weekend that I was a Friday night member. I wasn't necessarily a core member. Um, but Friday and Saturday, the energy was in just off the hook, with Saturday being even way, way better, they used to say. I found that the energy when both nights got together on special parties, whether it be like a Sunday party or Tuesday night party, um, when they threw special parties. That's when the energy was intense. The Paradise Garage, I went there almost every weekend. And almost every weekend I leave my house, I get butterflies in my stomach going there. It's the only club I could honestly say. Maybe it's because I was younger at the time, or maybe it was I saw some of the best parties. So parties now don't get me as giddy. There are obviously a couple of like if there's a big party at Shelter or a big party at Body and Soul or special parties coming up, you get that giddy feeling, that butterfly in your stomach. Paradise Garage gave you that on a regular night, a regular nobody, no nothing happening. You talking about just wall to wall dancers, not people standing around watching, not posers, nobody watching the DJ, even though we did what the DJ's Larry Levan. And on certain nights when Larry wasn't there, you had David DePino, you had Victor Rosado, you had Joey Lanos play. You may have a, special guest DJ come in every once in a while and play. But Larry Levan, he held court there. And there was something about Larry that when he was in that booth, first of all, it's not like your DJ booth now where everybody had the right to just walk in and say hello. It was all the way in the up, you had to ascend the stairs that if you were high or drunk, you definitely falling down the stairs. But the stairs was like you always hear stairway to heaven. It was up, that was heaven up there. And I've never been in the Paradise Garage booth, never, and I'm proud to say that, because the party was on the floor. And that, oh my God, it takes your breath away just thinking about what the Paradise Garage was, the best sound system in the city of New York City, the very best DJ with and don't get me wrong, Larry wasn't on every single night, okay? But even on the nights, he was the only DJ. People people would say, well, if he's off, then why you keep going? Because you don't want to miss the time when he was on. That's why we kept going. You never ever wanted to not be in the room when Larry was on his game. And when I say a game, it's a game is it's not even giving him enough credit. When Larry was on his game, you 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 feel this euphoria of just take over you musically, the vibe, the feeling. Um, it was just everything. Music wise, there was no there was no set formula for the music. So it wasn't like you were just going to hear 124 beats per minute all night long, or there was no set formula. You never knew what he was going to play. Um, People have this misconception that it's a club where he only played classics. No, he made classics. Now they are classics. But we went to the garage because Larry broke new music every single week.
Mm,
You wanted to know what Larry was playing. What Larry was playing, the rest of New York City follow, including the radio with Frankie Crocker and WBLS. Because Frankie, there were nights when Frankie Crocker would finish at BLS, and you saw Frankie up in the booth, at 10 in the morning. He was there all night because he was listening to what Larry was playing. And, Larry would play a record today, you would never hear it again until about maybe like 3, 4 months. Then you were hearing it on the radio. By then, he had moved on to something else. One of the records that come to mind was New Shoes. I Can't Wait.
yeah.
Um, Larry was playing that, and I remember we the exercise was you hear Larry play it, you get out of the club, you run over to Vinyl Mania, you talk to Manny Lehman, who Manny used to be the person in Vinyl Mania, and you'd be like, Manny, what's that record Larry just played? So that happened with New Shoes. I Can't Wait. We couldn't find it, and then when it first came in, it was this import on this yellow label. Everybody grabbed it, and then a few months later, I think it might have been like 4 months later, I think it was Atlantic picked it up and they were playing on the radio. So that's you all. Larry broke new records. Larry didn't play classics only. He
Mm,
made classics. And when we say break a record, I could think of even a night when he played. Let's Dance by David Bowie,
Mm,
which was the 12-inch mix or what have you. And
mhm,
he played that, and we were like, what is this? And he just kept on playing it. And when I say play it, he played it at 2 a.m. He played it at 4 a.m. He played it at 6. You would hear, if he loved a record and he was going to break a record, you would hear that record sometimes 4, maybe even 6 times for the night.
mhm,
DJs nowadays, they don't even want to take that chance.
mhm,
First of all, they don't even play more than 2 hours.
mhm,
I see guys, some of the A-list DJs and these promoters advertise it as, um, come here, DJ, such and such, play a special 4-hour set. And I'm like, a 4-hour set? Okay. You know, should that be advertised? I mean, that's what you should do. It's kind of like, what you want a prize for being a father. That's what a DJ should do.
yeah.
But Larry would, you know, if he loved a record, you were going to hear it 4 to 6 times for the night. So it was just a special place in the bringing up of many of us who were there. And then even New York City at that time was special because it wasn't just a garage. You had the garage, you had the loft, you had the mud club, you had all these different places. You had the Saint. Um, you know, I mean, it was just. And then of course Palladium came around. It was a time when, and don't ask me how we did it, but we partied every single night. Every single night. We started Sunday at area, okay, which area was Hubert Street.
Mhm.
We started at area and we finished the week on Saturday at the loft. So it was just, and there was a party to go to every single week, every single day of the week. New York was very intense back then.
Explain clubbing versus like there was shortly after that there were like regular clubs and then there were supper clubs. Explain the supper club concept. I'm thinking things like is it like Nels or like
Right.
Bonds or like what's a supper club for those that don't know?
I wouldn't say Bonds, because Bonds was one of the bigger clubs.
Okay.
A supper club would be more of and it started out more of a like a jazz, and it was exactly what it was, supper club. You went there for dinner that had music. Um, um, it would be dinner early in the night, and then they break down the table, and then it would be like, they would, at the now this is the first concept of it. Used to have the bands come in, and or an artist come in. A place I could, even though it's a really really big club, like Copacabana.
Yes.
Copa, you used to go to Copa, um, in the early evening. You could actually have dinner at the Copacabana, right? And then later on, um, if you remember, now I'm not a big Copa club goer, but I like that concept where you could go there, go on a date, have dinner. Then later on, they had salsa lessons, okay, and then they went from the lessons straight into the night, of dancing. Now you had the supper club, and actually there was a club called the Supper Club here in New York City. A little bit more upscale clientele. I think it was two levels, if I'm not mistaken. I think Don Welsh from Underground Network really built a following at the supper club. But more, they were okay. So we were downtown partying and doing the crazy young kid stuff to well, we didn't call it house music then. We call it club music. Okay. Or underground music. Whereas Don Welsh would be doing the supper club with, more of your R&B singers of the past. So more
Hmm.
of your you may have. I'm just throwing out names. I don't know if he actually booked these people, but more people like the Dells or the Whispers, stuff like that. So
Hmm.
then you had that nice supper club vibe of, you could actually get something to eat, You have a nice little show. You get up and dance, and you leave out of there maybe by 10, 11 o'clock, and you could go home and get up and go to work. Okay, that was how the supper club first came out, started. So you had the raging Paradise Garage and Roxy and all that stuff going on. And then you have the supper club that came in and fit right into that niche, from after work up until, you know, so you would have like the more mature person would say, okay, I'm done. I had a good evening. You take care. And then you have like a guy like a Little Ray who's like, oh, that was great. All right, I'm going down to such and such, you know. So that was a supper club.
Um, Tell us about, did you ever go to the club called Pulse?
No, I don't think I have heard of it. I think Pulse used to do reggae.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah, Pulse used to do reggae. See, it's funny. I am from Jamaica. Okay, love my reggae music, but I gave up on the reggae clubs from as soon as I discovered the Paradise Garage. Okay, I used to go to the reggae clubs like ZX and Village Hut, which was out here in Brooklyn, and that was in 79, 80, 81. Okay, that's when I used to go to the reggae clubs. Right before I went off to college, we used to sneak out the house. We used to go down to the Village Hut. You know, everybody would be in their best threads, and you were all dressed up, and everybody had to have either a baby sham in one hand and a Kanai wine in another hand. It was so pretentious; it's almost sickening. Okay, it was actually disgusting to tell you the truth. I hated everything about it, but I loved everything about it at the same time. Okay, it was all a poser type of thing, but the music. At Village Hut, you had Rhodes International with DJ Carlton and all them guys playing, and the music. I mean, DJ Carlton play reggae music that it's like eating a good plate of food. Okay, that's how good he is. I mean, and is and was. The music was. That's what drove for me as I'm sorry,
Hmm.
drove me as a young boy was the music. I loved the music he played,
Hmm.
and then of course you had but then you were in there, you're dancing, you're having a good time. If you ask a girl to dance, you have to look a certain way and all this stuff, and then yet it was just that was the most annoying part that I could not wrap my head around. And after getting introduced to the Paradise Garage, I never went back. It was never appealing to me because again, if you look at both sides of it, it was always the music. Paradise Garage, the music was kicking. Village Hut, the music was kicking. The sound systems in both clubs was intense. Okay, but no, I never went to Pulse. I never really went to places like what's the other one down in Union Square?
Oh yeah. I don't
Uh,
remember, but I know what you're talking about.
yeah, or the one up in Union Square. You had the Pulse. You had Union Square. You had there was one up I think on Amsterdam in Midtown or Uptown. So
Hmm.
I stayed out of those places. And then of course you had your Bentleys,
Yes.
Bentley and Silver Shadow, which was in Midtown. You
Hmm.
know, that those places were not for me.
Um, what is the shelter for those that don't know?
The Shelter is started in 1993 or no, or 1992, something like that. The Shelter, yeah, 1992. Shelter is the combination, or you say Shelter, you say Timmy Regisford. Okay, it's his brainchild. Shelter is that's if you want, you could say it is the continuation of the Paradise Garage. Okay, in its many different. In other words, Paradise Garage closed in 1987. Between 1987 and 1992, I call it the Wild Wild West days of New York City house music world. Okay, you had many different clubs came about then. You had the Whirl, you had the Tunnel, you had uh, um, the Choice, you had parties. Then that was when you started having independent parties like a Bourgeois. You had Snob Busters. You have all these various little. Now it was because you got to understand back in the days of the garage and those bigger clubs, we who are event um, who do events or do parties and what have you, never thought we could do anything more than out of our basement. Okay. But then once a garage closed, it opened up such a landscape because now you had other clubs that were coming in. You had like the 1018 for that crowd and what have you. And the garage kids, which is we didn't call ourselves house heads back then. It was a garage kids, okay, and we were like left without a home, and it created this void where now you had like Afterlife come in, and Afterlife, those were guys who look like us, young like us. Yeah, that was Kaleem. Kaleem Shabazz came in and was like, "Listen, I could do this. We can do this." And he built such a great following. And I look at like you had Afterlife, you had Behind Club Doors, you had all these little units now who were coming together, or no, not coming together, who were doing events that were kind of supplying the vibe that we were missing from the Paradise Garage. And then Shelter came about. Now Shelter was they were doing little parties here and there, but it wasn't under the guise of Shelter. Um, or it was just Timmy Regisford, Merlin Bob, Freddie Sannon. They were doing parties like they would do like Sunday parties at the Palladium, or they may do a party various different places, and then eventually, now this is why I say it is like a continuation of the garage, because when you walked into the first person who told me about Shelter was Ricky, and Ricky was our guy at at the Paradise Garage, who served all the fruits and refreshments and stuff like that. Ricky was the coolest dude ever. Okay, Ricky was like, "Listen, guys, you guys got to come check this club out." And all the other parties that I talked to you about, and House Nation. House Nation is a really big part. House Nation as well as Wild Pitch served a huge um, service to gel the garage into the era of Shelter. And but those were what you would call mobile parties. They never had a home per se. Okay. Even Afterlife was a mobile party, even though it stayed at a certain location for for a few years. Then we found out that the location was a guy who was renting out his place, and the owner didn't even know he was renting it as a party spot. That that was great. All of that history was great. Until the owner like, what's going on here? No, you guys can't have parties here. Um, and then here comes Shelter, and then Shelter opened up in the same exact spot that we older heads, meaning by this time now we're now heads, and we're now supposedly the older ones. I hate that term though because I'm young at heart. But Shelter came about and opened up in the same spot that was Area. Area had Johnny Dynell back in the days. That was his place. Area was a really cool club that every 6 weeks they changed the core of the club. Every 6 weeks. I mean, you would walk in there one week and it was a photo shoot. It looked like a place for a photo shoot. You came back then 6 weeks later, but in your mind you're not thinking it's 6 weeks. You came back, and I remember they had a construction site. The whole club was a construction site with the construction vehicles and everything inside the club. Then I come back again, and there's a pool in the middle of the club. So it was really cool. Shelter, that's the space Shelter opened in. So now it was familiar to the garage members. Like, wait a minute, we used to go to the garage on Friday, and we start our week here in this same club at Johnny Dine with Johnny Dinell at area. So, and then now this was a long-term club, and it was a club with, I mean, I personally counted. They used to have the um, the amplifiers, the crown amps hanging from the roof. I personally counted 40 crown amps hanging from the roof. It was one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. It was 6 or 8 stacks of speakers. It was a real club made for, you know, before you would go into these clubs and it was like the Palladium, which was okay, which was great, great sound, but it was more of a commercial feel that 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 put up with us. This was a club made for the garage heads and made for real house music fans. Um, it was another place that you from the garage to here was another place that I got butterflies going. Maybe not every week, but it was this was a place. I mean, we were partying there until 2 in the afternoon. 2, 3 in the afternoon. You come outside, and you're like, "Oh my God, is how did I do that?" There are many answers to that, which we won't get into. but but we would get there. I remember getting there like at 4 in the morning, and we didn't get out until two p.m. And it was just now you got to remember the garage kids at the time. We only used to work to party. We just worked, got enough money, party. If we didn't like the work, we made sure we go find another job on our lunch break. That was New York City back then, just to have enough money so that we can go and party. We had no responsibilities, didn't think about nothing. Now you come to the age of shelter. We all started having responsibilities or should have responsibilities. We're now in our 30s. But then here comes shelter. And it was like, it was everything for us. It musically, it brought back the vibe, but not with, like Timmy, his thing was always breaking new music. Um, Also kind of following the formula of Larry, breaking new music. But then because we had all this body of work that Larry had left, now he was giving us now the classics at certain, like early in the morning, like from 8 to like 10 o'clock, 7 to 10 a.m., 11 a.m. You were just getting killed by classics, all this beautiful music, and then Timmy always left you on a high. 11 o'clock, just when you like, I had enough. I'm gonna go get my coat and leave. Boom, he will come on with the freshest, hottest, brand new record that just came out, and you're like, what the hell is that? And then from 11 to 2, you're like, here we go again. So it was just a great time to party, and that went on. I think at Hubert Street. Hell, I got to look into that and see how many years, but quite a few years it went on at Hubert Street.
Describe the sound of Shelter. Describe like what is the sound, not the sound system, but like the type of music that was played there.
It was more, hate the term soulful house, but I guess if you have to put
Well,
a
actually
thing
let's
on it,
stop right there. What is Soulful House for those that don't know?
ah, it's a term made up. um, it's I'm sorry to my English fans and UK buddies and all of that, but you guys really fucked up the music and the sound, man. I mean, not the sound, but the terminologies that you put on our beloved music. Instead of just going with either how, okay, it took a while for us to get used to house music here in New York, the term that is, okay, because like um, I said earlier, we called it underground music or we call it club music. Why? Because we could hear it in the club. You couldn't hear it nowhere else. You only heard it in the club. once or a few times it would leak out and it's being played on the radio, but for the most part it's club music. And club music didn't have a certain, it didn't care about the beats per minute. Okay, whereas house music is a type of sound. It's a beats per minute. 120, 122 beats per minute, that hard driving. That's house music. Whereas club music, you may have a Marianne Faithful being played by Larry in the club, and you're like, that's not club music. You may have Melba Moore, or you may have, you know, Touch Without You. Okay, is Touch Without You house music? That's debatable. But so we call it club music, and then we would call it either club or underground music because you could only hear it in, not only in the club, but in certain clubs, in the underground clubs. Because the same thing you may hear at the garage, you'll never hear it at Studio 54. Okay, or you may hear certain things at the garage that you may hear at studio, but it would be a different mix. Okay, you would only hear certain music at the garage, or Better Days, or even Bonds, because Kenny Carpenter was playing at Bonds, that you would not hear at like your Latin quarters, let's say. Okay, they are clubs, major clubs. So we call it underground music. Then you fast forward, it's house music. House music came out of Chicago, took on. I mean, Larry used to draw. I remember when the record Seven Ways came out. Oh my God!
Mm.
In the Paradise Garage, I think it was late '84, '85, and my God, when that thing came on, I mean, it 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 just every pore in your body opened up. This is Hercules, and I want you to jack your body. And you're like, oh my God, I don't know. We in New York didn't know what jack your body is, but at that time, but we knew we were going to jack our body. And then you move along the spectrum. Okay, so now, okay, it's house music, and all of a sudden, come 89 into 90, 91, and you're hearing all this acid track, this type of music. Then it's this music, then it's soulful house, then so now you're breaking down house music into all these. You have progressive house, soulful house, you have, you know um, then you have techno house, then and then you're like, so as a DJ, you're telling me if I like soulful house, I can't play techno house? I mean, or as a party goer, if I like, techno house, I shouldn't be dancing to acid house. And then it just got crossed up, and I blame the magazines. I blame these people who, yes, a lot of them do go out because they do it. That's their world, but it's like they had such a disconnect with the labels. And I think the labels came about because it then became marketing, where they're marketing the music, to certain demographic. And in that way, I think they did a disservice to the music. If we're going to go with house, it's house. If we're going to go with club, it's club music. If we, but just to start breaking it up, and then you get into this conversation. I mean, I'm over 50. I get into a conversation with a 30-year-old, and he's telling me, no, 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 what you listen to is not house, it's this and that. And you're like, I can't. You just can't. So because of that, sorry, my UK buddies, but I blame you guys across the pond for really screwing it up. Whereas Soulful House now, and it's funny, in the age of COVID, I'm listening to all these DJs who are supposed to be EDM world DJs and techno DJs, and I turn on Carl Cox, on a Sunday morning, and my man is playing the same damn thing I'm playing, you
Mm.
know, and why? Because that's where he came from. That's
Mm.
where all these guys came from. They
Mm.
came from that world. They have all the music. All those guys, all those EDM guys, or I should say, let me preface that. the older EDM guys, the Bob Sinclairs, the Carl Cox, all those guys, they started where we started. They
Mm,
started in the 80s. Okay. They started playing that good, soulful music, you know, and it's just music. Music is good music. Music is music. And that's what it should be called.
I love it. So, the big question for those that don't know, what is the Clubhouse Jamboree? How did you come up with the concept and what inspired you to do it?
Clubhouse Jamboree, and I think by now you for those who have not heard the story, but can, if you've been listening to me, you kind of know where the name came from. So the name itself came from exactly what I just said. Um, the music, we called it club music. Um, but then at the time, you had house music. So just keep that concept first. Going back to how it first started, it was myself and my partner Kurt Minter. They called him Dirty Kurt back then. Kurt is now, moved on from the scene and what have you. But we call him Dirty Kurt. Kurt and myself. Kurt met up with another gentleman at the time. His name was Kurt also, who worked in Prospect Park. At the time, Kurt in Prospect Park was a big, came out of the Paradise Garage. You'd be surprised the amount of people who were Paradise Garage members. You might be you might be going into surgery and find out that your surgeon was a Paradise Garage head. Okay, that's how impactful that club was. And just to backtrack a little bit, that last night of the Paradise Garage blew my mind with the amount of people that I saw flew in from all over the world that I would never see again, that probably I didn't see every week, but they are members. We are out there. Okay. So what happened is Kurt came to my friend Kurt and said, listen, I work in the Prospect Park special events. They are doing all these various different music and stuff like that in the summertime. How come I never see any of our events out there, or we don't have any events there that play Paradise Garage music, our kind of music? And so at the time we were starting this club behind club doors. Okay. It was Kurt, his wife Des at the time, or I should say his wife at the time, who was Des, myself, Mansky, Kim Lightfoot, Tyrone Francis. Okay, we were all getting together and putting together this club called Behind Club Doors in Brooklyn. And so Kurt, myself, and Kurt went, and Kurt said, "Ray, we could, can you think we could do this?" I said, "Yeah, we could definitely do this." Now, keep in mind at the time, like I said, we're all getting to a certain age. We have all our people from the garage who are now growing up, not growing up, growing up, having families, getting married, having kids, stuff like that, but still coming out. So we say, yeah, let's put together a program. And the concept was we wanted to show, because we would see our friends come out and we're like, damn. And they were like, yeah, I just snuck out. My kid is at home with a babysitter. I gotta, or nah, I just snuck out. My 5-year-old is about to wake up. I gotta get back home. Stuff like that. This was at Wild Pitch parties and House Nation parties and stuff like that. So we said, this is what the concept is. We're gonna give them a taste, and really I wanted, we started it for the heads, for us, but we started it for those who were growing up at the time, who had kids, to show their kids where mommy and daddy snuck off to. So we wanted to give the vibe, or to show the young people, this is what it looked like in our world of clubbing. Okay. We And in a way, I think back at it, and when people say, where did that concept of 5 DJs come up in a party and what have you? And it was one day it came to me, and I said, damn, I think I might have been we might have created that monster, because what the concept was, Yeah, we could have had two DJs play all day long, but we wanted where we wanted to give a taste of our club world, where we went to, what it looked like, what it sounded like, what the vibe was, and we wanted to bring that outside. So that's why the concept was every hour we would have one DJ who was relevant in the club scene. So, it was always we needed you to be doing something in the club scene. So the first year, the DJs were Basil, Kim Lightfoot, and Kaleem, because Kim and Kaleem was doing Afterlife. You had Basil, who was doing Nels at the time, and then you had Tyrone Francis, who was our behind club doors DJ. Okay, Kim Lightfoot was playing with us at behind club doors. Also, you had Barbara Tucker. You can't get no bigger than Barbara, and Barbara was with us from day one. Okay, so we put together a well-rounded day to show people. Okay, yeah, we go out, because remember back then too, when we went out, it wasn't like now. We didn't tell people we were going out. We just go out. We don't tell our neighbors. We didn't tell, yo, come with me. It was like we were vetting you to come with us. Like before you could come out with us, we were like, is he cool enough for the scene? I don't know. Would he like this? I'm not even going to bother with that. But
Mhm.
then this was a time when we brought it outside. So now we're going back to 1994, and
Mhm.
we're now showing the public this is what we do at the garage, at the choice, at the wild pitch, at behind club doors, at all these different parties. And so it would always have a concept of DJs that are relevant mixed with an artist or three different artists that are relevant at the time in the club scene. And now the name came about because again, at the time we were still calling it to some extent club music on the ground. That was a garage heads were calling it that. And then you have house music. So we said, well, you have club and you have house. Let's put that together, clubhouse. And then Kurt said, well, it's a day it's a a day out in the daytime. Is it a bazaar? No, it's not a bazaar because we don't have any rides and stuff like that. And then Kurt said, well, it could be a jamboree. We're having fun. It's a jamboree, and that's how Clubhouse Jamboree came about. And it started in '94, and it's still going on. It's always the second Sunday in September. And we started first at the band shell, and we did about 5 years at the band shell, Prospect Park band shell. And then Prospect Park got a grant to like develop the band shell, and it was going to take like 2 3 years to rebuild. And they said, well, you still want to continue doing this event? And we said, hell yeah, because the first year when we started, unlike some events that when they first start, you get like 50 people, 100 people, we actually got, according to Prospect Park numbers, this is not my numbers, we had 1,500 people out there.
Wow.
So this was how people wanted this. This is when we said, wow, people definitely want this. So we had like 1,500 people, and the best thing I remember from that first year was this elderly couple, and when I say elderly, they were well in their 70s, maybe could have been 80s, and they were out there and they were hustling and dancing, and they were like, "This is great! This is great! What's the name of this thing?"
Mhm.
And then we had to move from the band show, and they said, "Well, you want this? We have this other spot over by the boathouse." At that time, we couldn't even find the damn thing. We didn't even know what it was. The place was disgusting. Disgusting. I mean, like, I remember disgusting. Okay. It was overgrown. It was where the homeless people would always, like every year, we would go over there and say, yo, guys, we're going to do an event over here. Can you give us just a few hours? They would pack up all their stuff and they would move out. I mean, it was disgusting. I remember nightfall would come and all the rats and everything came out of the woods. Like, okay, you guys had your time in the day. It's time for us. Get out. Until now, they have developed that area into the Nethermead It's another mead area, the music pagoda. They're doing big corporate events over there. I think it is time they should call it the Clubhouse Jamboree Pavilion,
Absolutely.
because we built that place from nothing into now a very, very viable area of Prospect Park that they do very well over there. And during COVID, COVID-19 pandemic, that was where most people went in the park because it's such a secluded and just zen-like feeling in that area. And that's where most people go and just go with their families just to get some fresh air.
Let's talk about DJing. Back in the day, DJs had residencies. Important is it for a residency to establish a DJ's career in these days?
It's very important, but it's not done anymore as much. The residency, here's what the residency did. and and then after a while the whole my residency became almost like it didn't carry enough weight anymore. Okay, but back in the days, a DJ residency, you got to remember, the DJ now had that space for a number of years, because residency now, people would say, oh, I got my residency, and then they're there for maybe 4 to 6 weeks, and that's not a residency. These guys were playing in clubs where the club owner bank on them. Okay, but then more importantly, the music industry banked on that resident and that space. So, case in point, you have a place like the Paradise Garage. Larry Levan is a resident DJ. When Larry plays and break a record, okay, the world hear about it. And this is before the internet. So think about if you had a club that had such an influence. The other place is a shelter. Timmy Regisford breaks a record. Okay, the world hears about it. You had the Saint. Okay, when they, even though, and that was a great thing about residency. It Not every place played the same because it was on that DJ, Junior Vasquez. You go to Sound Factory. I mean, that is his resident. It got to the point where Junior even had a separate DJ booth area for himself. And if
Mhm,
a guest come and play, they have a separate area.
mhm.
He had his resident booth. And when he would break a record, the whole, the whole world, because now you have the magazines writing about it. Junior played such and such. Now for the artists, they want a residence. You need a club that carries that kind of weight, because then now if an artist gets their record played in this particular club, it can really take their career off,
Mhm.
and push it. Now you have a bunch of DJs playing great music. Okay, because there is great music out there. Anytime I hear a DJ say, "Oh, there's no good music out there," that's a career limiting statement as far as I'm concerned, because that means you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Number one, but the thing is, though, you have so much great music out there that is not getting shined on because there's very little residents. You don't have, I mean, the residents now are mainly overseas. It's no more like in New York City. It's not here in the States. You go to Europe, well, let's hope we find a vaccine or cure or treatment program for this COVID disaster. But before then, you could go to a glitter box. Glitter box was a major, you know, you had resident major clubs in like Ibiza in Europe that had one DJ playing all the time, breaking records. So, but now you is it important? Yes, it is still important. Is it being done correctly? No, it's not. I think people don't understand the concept of what a residency, or a DJ with a residency, what the concept really entails. and what the power that DJ wields. It's just not done properly.
Thank you for that. New York was a vibrant club scene. What happened, or what effect did Giuliani have on the club scene?
Those are two different questions, almost three different questions. Okay,
Tackle all of
Giuliani.
them, please. All of them.
Uh, um, I don't want to lead with Giuliani, but yes, New York City's club scene was incredibly vibrant, thanks to Mayor Koch. Okay, Mayor Koch loved the club scene. The club, he realized the power that the club scene had here. He realized the money that the club scene brought in to his city. Um, the club scene in New York City. I mean, like I said, on any given night, you could go out and party till the sun comes up. Any given night, from Sunday to Saturday, and into Sunday again. There was always, whether it be the until 4 a.m. clubs, you had the after hours clubs, you had, I mean, it was just vibrant, it was throbbing. Um, then let's lead into what Mayor Giuliani tried to do. He tried to actually kill the club scene, but more, it was more like regulate it. And then, of course, it just, like, he was cracking down, especially, forget about Manhattan scene, but like the Brooklyn scene, meaning the Brooklyn Caribbean scene. He was just, it was, they set up these task force that was just devastating the clubs. However, the club scene also have to take some responsibility, because one of the things that gave him the power, or gave him the okay, let's go after these guys, was that, if you remember, the Happy Land murders, the Happy Land fire, which was all Honduran people. I didn't know this until I married my wife. A lot of she had some. She's from Honduras, and she even had some of her relative that got killed in that fire, and
Wow.
it all stemmed from a jealous boyfriend. But what made him go after, what made him start going after the club, and what made it so tragic, is because Happy Land only had one entrance in, one entrance out. So the guy lit the fire at the entrance in and out, right at the front door. And it was devastating. So because of that, now he used that as his catalyst to go after all these various different clubs. Okay. And then mix with, now, this part I can't prove, nobody can prove, but mixed with, then you had the bigger investors start coming in, who could have the money to pay to get around all that nonsense. You know, people would sit here and they would praise Peter Gatien for coming in and, doing, what's that, limelight, or not, or what have you, and they praise him as, oh, he was picked on and what have you. But to me, I mean, my opinion, I, he's the one who brought in all that bottle service and all that other nonsense that, to me, killed the vibe of partying of the New York City club. So it's not necessarily only Giuliani. So the club owners also have to take some responsibility, where it stopped being about the vibe and more about the funds, the business part of it. I mean, the business part was always there for New York City clubs, but they took it to another level with the bottle service and all that. So it killed that. It actually started killing it out, and killing that energy from the New York City vibe. But if you notice, what actually made it come back was, once, listen, you're only young but so much, and you only have no responsibility but for so many years. So of course I can go into a club and spend $350 trying to impress, you know, three people at my table. I could only do that but so often, and after a while that gets tired. And it started getting tired, and that's where you saw the young kids now, millennials or whoever you want to call them, they start coming in and they start doing these DIY parties in Brooklyn, in Williamsburg, in every other non-beaten path, okay, but Manhattan. They started moving out of Manhattan. And then I look back at it because I've been around for a little while, and I'm like, wait a minute, they're doing exactly what we did. Okay, we went to the big clubs. We taste all that. It was great. But the one thing we still love and always love was the music and the party and the vibe of it. Okay, um, and then after a while, you see, I could do this better. Or I have a different spin on this. And then you take that and you just go and find a party space, put in really great music, and you do your thing. And that's what these younger adults now, 30s, okay, now they're getting into their 40s just about now. But that's what they started doing. And they actually, without even knowing it, they took it back to how it was. They went back to the blueprint, and that whole bottle service and all that, nah, we don't want that. Okay. Now you see pre-COVID, the the the, the I would say the club world was
Hmm.
very, very vibrant in New York. You had places like Good Room opening up. You have House of Yes. You had all these places like opening up, playing to just big crowds every night. Every night. The only thing though, they didn't have that resident. There was no resident there. They were
Hmm.
just every night was a different party.
Hmm.
Okay, if they had went to the resident type of vibe, I think they would have just knocked it out the park. But the vibrancy of the club world of New York City was on its way up. It was very, very vibrant, and I'm talking the last 2 3 years, where yeah, and then unfortunately we're in this pandemic.
Will clubbing survive COVID-19?
Hmm. It will, it will only because humans are humans. In that, is it going to be the same? I think it will get back to the same, or a facsimile thereof the same, in that people are going to find a way. And I've been hearing a few little stories around New York City of how they're finding ways to do what they're doing. Wink, wink. Okay. Uh, we older people are not going to take that chance. But hey, these 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds, they are out there right now taking the chances. Okay. Um, I think what it's going to do when it start to come back i- is going to be more underground again. Maybe they'll start calling the music underground again. Okay. But it's going to be pushed back deeper underground. I think also to, as far as a events person's point of view, to get people back into that club. Like I hear people who this is their business, meaning events is their business, entertaining people is their business, and they're like, oh, I don't want no damn vaccine, and I don't listen. This is your business. We're going through um, a time we've never seen in over 100 years. Okay, and I'm not the vaccine or the anti-vaccine type individual. However, I think there comes a time when you 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 do need a vaccine. Even if you don't take it, you need to know that a treatment program is there. You need to know that if I go out this weekend and I come home and Wednesday now I am sick, I can go and get treatment. Okay. You need to know at least that's there. Until that happens, I don't think the club scene is going to come back as vibrant as it or as strong, but they need to have it where a person in their mind, it's Saturday night, which it is now. It's going to be Saturday night. I want to go out. There is this thing out there. There's a virus out there, but is it worth it for me to go out? I might catch the virus, but if I catch a virus, is there a treatment to make sure I'm okay? And until that question is answered, now treatment could be vaccine, cure, or just a therapy, how to treat this virus so that I don't die, so that I'm down for 2 weeks, and then the next Friday, Saturday night, I can go back out. Okay, until that happens, then or I should say, when that happens, that's when you're gonna see the club world come back strong. I'm planning a trip. Okay, it's uncertain. I'm doing this in uncertain time. Okay, I'm even telling my hotel vendor, like, I got your money, but I'm not giving you your money until I know what's going on. Okay, but so on that side, I'm like, whoa, what's going on? But then on this side of the patrons, of the guests, they're like booking the trip. They're still booking the trip. And and it's like, wow, would I book the trip? Would I book a trip now? I can't answer that for everyone. But I can tell you there are people who are impatiently, not patiently, impatiently sitting on the sidelines wanting to party. There's a party right now in Brooklyn at Von King Park. I'm out here in sweat top here, and it's cold, but people are over there partying outside. It's outside, but people want to dance. People want to be around each other. People want to see each other. Um, the problem with this virus, obviously, is people want to hug and what have you, and you can't do that. And that's the problem. That once they try, they have to figure out a way of getting around that, and there's no other way but the treatment program. There has to be a treatment for this virus. I can get sick, but I don't want to die. Okay, if I know I'm not going to die, if there's a treatment program that will allow me not to die, then I'll take the chance and go out and party. And that's
What?
when you're going to see the scene come back.
No, thank you for that. What advice would you give to the next generation of club promoters? Or what mistakes
Oh,
did you make when you first started that you say, hey, young blood, when you're thinking about doing an event, think about these things?
yeah, okay. The advice I would give a club promoter or future is stick to what your vision is. You always hear people saying, "Oh, we should all get together and kumbaya," and why you have this party going on over there, and my party is going on here, and you have 6 different parties going on at the same time. I'm all about giving people choices, and your choice. Everyone do not have the same vision. To a young promoter, I would say, if you feel this is what you want to do, okay, I'm not saying do not partner up with anyone else. Do it, do it on your own, fail on your own, succeed on your own. Um, and if you fail, learn from your failures. Learn from why did it fail. Also, long term, stick to itiveness, as they call it. I think somebody made up that word, and it's a great word. Okay, stick to it. Um, find yourself. If you say, okay, I like I like what they're doing out there, but I have a different spin on this. I want to bring in an artist, or I want to put yoga mats on the floor while house music is playing. Then listen, I may not like it, but that's your idea. Don't let anyone talk you out of it. Stick to it. All you really need to find is 300 people who believe the same damn thing you believe, okay, and it will grow and it will continue. Actually, you don't even have to start with 300 people. You start with 30 people, and you make sure those 30 people tell like-minded individual. You stick to it. You do you. Do only you. One of the things too, I would tell a promoter: if you're not if you're not a personable person, find a personable person to be your front person. You can't be a curmudgeon doing this. Okay, you cannot be the person who I call them the gray people who are in the in the shadows, and this is what you want to do. Not saying that you can't do it. You can do it. Not saying that you can't do it. You can do it. Okay, but find yourself who is that personable individual. Give you a great example at shelter. Timmy did. Timmy don't talk to much people. It is shelter. It is Timmy registered. But what Timmy does, Timmy finds a bird or so, actually Timmy's right hand was Freddie. Okay, Freddie talked to everybody. Might be a little harsh sometimes, but Freddie was that guy. Okay, so you have to find your yin to your yang. Um, if you're not the outgoing person, if you're the outgoing person, then make sure um, you treat the people in the room matters, not the people who are not in the room. Don't worry about those who are not in the room. So if you are doing an event, and I gave this guy this advice once, and thank God he followed it. He used to always do events, and he used to always worry about, well, how come this guy don't show up, or how come this A-list DJ don't come? I tell him to come and all this stuff. I'm doing such a great event here, and they're not coming. And then I looked at it and I said to him, oh, you have people here. People are here right now. You have to concentrate on the people in the room. Show them the best time they've ever had. Okay. Show them that you care about them being there. Thank them for being there.
Mm.
Okay. Do things for them. Give them a free CD. Give them free this. What have you? There's this thing in this book that I read. Really, all you really need is 1,000 true followers. If you have 1,000 followers who follow you religiously, you'll be successful at anything. So um, find your vision and stick to your vision, and don't let go of your vision. And if you can work just by yourself, the work by yourself is very important. Don't look to always looking for a partner. Work by yourself.
That was perfect. I don't have any more questions. Um, Remind everybody again, what's the website for Jamaica Frenzy so that they can buy tickets?
Thank you. Jamaica Frenzy is www.jamaicafrenzy, or one word, jamaicafrenzy.com. We're doing this event from April 5th to April 10th, 2021. It will be at Hedonism Negril. This year, we're not going to do any events off of the property of hedonism, only because due to the COVID pandemic. Now, that may change, right? But for right now, due to how the Jamaican government and Jamaica Tourist Board and the hotels there want to do it, Jamaica is open to fly into. You can always fly there. You must walk with a negative COVID test. So you have to do you have to do a COVID test. It has to be negative. It has to be within 10 days of travel. Okay. And once you get there, not the rapid test, a regular COVID test. And once you get there, you display that. They'll let you in the country. You go to your hotel, and the hotel is asking that you either stay on the premises, or there are what they call designated areas. They call it the, the strip. The strip goes from Negril all along the north coast to Portland, which is a wide span of the country, just about. And but they so because of that, because of COVID, we're gonna do all our events on the property of Hedonism. It's a 5-star resort. It's one of the best clothing optional, all inclusive, all adults. It's an all adult resort. top shelf liquor, top shelf. In other words, you got to buy your ticket as far as your airfare. You get your airfare there, and we'll do the rest. We'll pick you up from the airport. You put away your wallet, and you just have a great time. And that's
Thank you so
April
much.
5th to April 10th. JamaicaFrenzy.com is the website.
Thank you so much, Lil Ray. It was good.
Anything for you, and anytime you want.
I
But man,
appreciate you, brother.
thank you, brother.
All
You
right.
take care.
You too. Have a good day.
All right, take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.